Which of you guys here like to read books? You like the idea of it. Who here counts listening to an audiobook as reading a book? You're a liar. You're lying to yourself. That is not reading, that is listening. And that's okay if you listen to books, they can be very productive, but that is not the same thing, so just keep that in mind. All right, guys, today we're going to be presenting on a book called Shoveling Shit. It's a love story about the entrepreneur's messy path to success. This is written by a couple named Mike and Kass Lazerow. They've invested in and founded a bunch of different businesses, so this tells their love story throughout the whole process. And there's a lot of cool lessons built in there. To be quite honest with you, if you read books like this, a lot of the lessons tend to be pretty similar, and you can kind of get the gist of it pretty early, but it's fun hearing somebody else's take on it, especially for folks like this who sold their biggest company for $745 million back in 2012. So it's really cool to hear the lessons that are learned. So what I've done is I've gone through some of my favorite chapters, and I've written down some of my favorite quotes from the book. I'd like to go through those with you guys, and I've posed some discussion questions. What I'm going to ask for you guys to do is be very similar to the way the authors wrote this book, and that is this. Be very honest with yourselves. I'd appreciate a little bit of vulnerability almost. I want you to speak up and tell us what you think about these things, where you have opportunities to improve, and see how we can learn from each other, okay? So if you guys flip to the first page, all right? Has anybody in here heard of Gary, hey Abs, has anybody in here heard of, here you go, a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk? Yeah, if you, like, he's pretty big, like social media dude, whatever, but serial entrepreneur once again. So he wrote the foreword. He's buddies with these guys. So what he said, and again, none of this stuff is rocket science, guys, okay? Every company is different. The entrepreneurial mindset is not. He goes on to say that most people want cheat codes, easy money, and shortcuts. So we know there's no such thing as the get rich quick, right? And he says that behind every overnight success are years and years and years of hard and often painful work. So as we go through this, guys, I'm going to ask some questions, take some notes, and I'd like for some participation in this. That would make today's class much more successful. Who in here, how would you define a successful entrepreneurial mindset? And I'm sorry, say one more thing. We are all entrepreneurs. We understand that, right? Whether you're on a team or not, right? You're all running your own business, or you're embarking on running your own business. You have your own clientele, okay? So how would you describe a successful entrepreneurial mindset? Anybody? Self-discipline. Who else? Grit.
I think reasonable risk taker.
Reasonable risk taker. Very good. I love that.
Thinking outside the box.
Thinking outside the box. Good. Innovative, creative. Who?
Gregarious.
Gregarious. Wow. Can you define that?
Very outgoing personality.
Okay.
Engaging personality.
Engaging. I love that. We're going to talk a lot about engagement here in a little bit. Anybody else?
Ability to implement.
Ability to implement. I love that one. Very good.
Yeah, to be a very resilient person.
A very resilient person. I would agree with that 1,000-fold. Okay, very good. So in their introductory chapter called Before You Shovel This Crap, they talk about how they consider it an epic love story. They said that their romance with entrepreneurship has been driven by an emotional investment so deep that their work often became an extension of their very being. I don't know how you read that sentence and not think of a guy like Mike Chenault, right? Your work, it becomes an extension of your very being. It's not just what you do, it ultimately becomes who you are. And I think that's okay, and we'll talk about the imbalances of that here as we get to the next section. I love this bullet point where it says, we have a history of transparency, so there was trust in our relational accounts, even if we had no money in the bank. Can anybody kind of pick that apart? What does he mean when he says that? There's trust in our relational accounts, even if we had no money in the bank.
I guess trying to define what is relational accounts. Does that mean the relationships
Yes.
that you have with
Yes.
people? So that would mean even if we don't really have a track record of a relationship, that we're honest and transparent so that we can build that very easily.
Yes, I read it very similarly, and I think this comes, I wrote this down at the bottom under the discussion points, that money is an echo of value, and value is an echo of your relationships, right? Like, so who here is a year or less in? Raise your hand, it's okay. All right, very good. The value you want to get from real estate, the money you want to make from real estate, right? A lot of us will come back to the value you put in to the relationships that you have. Ultimately, that's where the money comes from. So here is a discussion question for you guys, and please, it's okay if it's silent for a second. I'd like you guys to think through this and somebody speak up. What shit do you shovel on a daily basis to build your business? And further, why do you keep coming back for more? And you can think about clients. You can think about just administrative tasks you have within your business. There's a lot of shit that we got to shovel, right? A lot of crap we got to go through. What are some of those things that come to mind, and why do you keep doing it?
Helping people get things done so succeed.
Okay.
What they want to do.
Very good. What is some of the crap that you have to shovel?
We just had this conversation.
Tell us about it, please.
Elderly person, she's a trustee, meeting for 2 weeks, totally overwhelmed with the situation, handed me the keys and said, if you can get on the market, that's great. So I spent a long time
Yeah.
going through the entire house, getting everything off the carpet so Dave Bell could take the carpet off the hardwood. Anyway,
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, it's good. You're building the relational account, right?
Yeah, I had sun lifting gravy this morning, and we'll go active. Anybody need a house in Raintree, brick rancher, detached garage.
There you go. Very good.
So it was, I mean, it was one of those things that she was totally like, she'd been dealing with since April,
Yeah,
and it was a referral, and
that's right.
so,
Yeah, I know for me, when I think about the crap that you got to shovel as a realtor, I mean, I can't help but think about inspections. I mean, inspection is, I despise them. They're very, very challenging to get through, right? There's a lot of emotions attached to it. But why do you keep coming back for more? Well, I like accomplishing a goal, and it's always on the path. It's what these guys call a messy path, right? Who else? Hey, Dean.
I see it a little different just when I first read that.
Please.
You know, the world's really not set up for you to be successful as an entrepreneur. There's so many negative factors mentally out there. I mean, the media, the average person that you deal with is not always going to be supportive of your dreams and your plans. So you almost have to work diligently on keeping your mindset focused on the goal and on the belief and on having the energy level. In my journey, that has been, I think one of the things that has enabled me to succeed somewhat is to be able to fight through that and always stay on the positive side of things and focus on where I want to go.
No doubt. You guys have heard the phrase, block out the noise, right? Like there's a lot of stuff out there, right, that's giving you all the negativity, right? And so be able to shovel through all of that.
Including yourself.
No doubt.
Can get you too.
Yes, agreed completely. Can anybody else relate to that, what Dean just said?
Well,
Is he-
I was thinking
please.
along with that, my first thought was you have to go through a lot of no's in a lot of different ways, whether it's the number of calls, number of contacts,
Yes.
number of transactions you invest in that don't work out. But to me, that's what I thought of.
Agreed completely. Yes. Anybody else? Carrie?
I think everybody's perspective of what the shit is totally different.
Yes.
I actually really enjoy helping people. I like doing the grunt work of
Sweet.
the paperwork and all that stuff. The calls to me are the hard part.
That's the shit that you got to shovel.
The selling, because I don't want to sell. I just want to help.
Just shovel.
Yeah.
You should-
I like it's my thing.
That's right.
I'll do the calls.
There's a chapter in here about picking a good partner, so maybe you can find somebody who likes to sell in and you guys partner up together. All right, guys, the next chapter, sowing and reaping. Everybody's heard the phrase, you reap what you sow, right? My favorite, and again, this handout's for you guys. I'm not going to read it line by line as we go. My favorite sentence in this section is when they say, here's the reality, you can't have it all. Can anybody disagree with that? Right? You can't have it all. There's going to be trade-offs for everything that you do. Anytime you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else and vice versa, right? Can somebody, maybe an experienced business owner in here, tell us about what comes to mind when I say what trade-offs have you made in order to pursue success in your business? What trade-offs have you made? Good? Larry?
Like Gary said, early in the career, maybe the sacrifices, hours away from home. For me, it was that's an investment in the future, and the dividends I hoped for would be more time at home.
Yes.
So it was less time at home to get to more time.
Right. Have you experienced the positive side of that?
Very much so,
Yeah.
Better
Very good.
than anticipated.
Yeah, it's along those same, and I agree with that, and I share that same sentiment. I I think what comes to mind for me with trade-offs is especially I tried to do it all early. Like you try to be like the social butterfly, hang out with friends, still be the best friend, still go to all the parties, go to do all the stuff, but also get up early and make the calls and do whatever else you got to do. I think the largest trade-off that I have made personally, I would say over the past, 10 years, 10 years, is honestly social time with friends. Like I have like 3 really close friends, and outside of that, like I've kind of just, and I'm not, this is not advice, okay? I've kind of made a decision, like I don't really need any more best friends. I know where I know where I want to spend my time, and so if I say no to a lot of invitations to social events because I know what the other side of that looks like. So for me, that's what comes to mind when we talk about trade-offs, right? Would anybody else like to talk about or talk through this?
Time. My trade-off is getting up earlier. I got to go to bed early.
Yes, that's an obvious but very true and real example, right? Like a lot of people, like I think few people, there you go, would disagree that most successful entrepreneurs have some sort of established morning routine. They usually get up before the sun, those types of things. And usually the rebuttal, the excuse for that is, well, I'm just not a morning person. Well, to become a morning person, you're first going to have to figure out how to be an evening person in a more productive way to have a productive morning, right? That's a trade-off. Who else? Corey?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, kind of going with what Nate said, I'm very much, my night has to be, I have to have my ducks in a row.
Right.
So if I know I'm going to a client event where I know I'm maybe have a couple drinks and food, things like that, that next morning may not be the same.
Yeah.
My routine may not be the same.
That's right. Trade-offs. New guy? What trade-offs do you plan to make with your 18-year-old life?
Well, just a thought that I have is,
Please.
like getting into real estate, you have the mindset that you're kind of getting into a flexible schedule.
Yeah.
And I think that to be successful, you have to actually go by a regimen.
You're a smart guy. You're going to be Talon, right? Way to go, man. Good job. That's a great answer.
I think spending is, because I remember early on, I felt like I was making some decent money and I decided, wrote about a Mercedes dealership, decided, so I'm going to score one of these Mercedes SUVs.
Heck yeah.
And I should have done it right then. I made a mistake of coming home and talking to Cindy about it. And she's like, we don't need that. I'm like, oh, I need that.
Yeah, not about it, dude.
I want it, I need it.
All right.
And of course she won. And you know, that was a big lesson for me because you need, like, those resources. You might have the resources, and that's great. Some people don't have the resources and they still spend the money. In that case, I had the resources, but I was spending it on something that I wanted and didn't need, and those resources could be allocated elsewhere, whether it be investing in rental properties or whatever else. And I'm not saying I'm a frugal spender by any means, but that was a great lesson. I think it is a trade-off because you're tempted every day, especially now with you can click a button and
Anything show up, yeah, for sure. Along the same lines as spending, and this, this is simple. This could be as simple as reading a couple of books a year for yourself. One of the best things you can always invest in is yourself, whether that's something like personal growth and development, some sort of coaching program, investing in your business somehow, whether it's a client event or whatever it might be. Those would always be probably smarter investments or expenditures for yourself than would be a Mercedes SUV. But I guess it depends on who you are. All right, let's go to the next section. Nurturing relationships and nurturing yourself. This first bullet point, I can argue this kind of, but it kind of goes along with the trade-off that I shared with you guys that I've made in my life. A great thing about being an entrepreneur with an ever-present focus on work is that you build deep, meaningful, lifelong relationships with people connected to your work. Can you guys agree? I would definitely say that for me. Look at my teammates, my clients, like meaningful relationships, right? The downside is that you develop almost no meaningful friendships outside of work. I don't know if I would agree that have no meaningful relationships outside of work, but I would tell you that a majority of my meaningful relationships are because of work or connected to it. Would you anybody disagree with that? This isn't a fact. Yeah?
I think because I was in corporate America for so long, I have a lot of relationships from those.
Sure. Yeah.
Friends and college friends that are still here.
Very good. The last bullet point, guys, says do whatever you can to make time to care for yourself, mind, body, and soul. If you're broken, the company will be broken. In the book, they were talking about, I think it was the husband, I think it was Mike, talking about how he was so addicted and so focused on his work, which he's proud of being. The last page was talking about being hyper focused. He was proud of being hyper focused because it helped him build his business, but he kind of lost his mind and his body because of it. Everything else kind of went to the wayside. So they talked about rebuilding yourself through it all. I love this phrase. Everybody, you've probably heard this. People say, I wish I had more time to work on the business, not in the business. You guys have heard that phrase, right? I think something that we got to remind ourselves often is, especially us as real estate agents, you are the business, right? So it's time to start working on you. And if you feel like you've let you, mind, body, soul, however you want to describe it, if you feel like you've let you go by the wayside, it's time to put more of a hyper focus on that. Because when you focus on improving you, your business tends to follow suit, right? So who can speak on this a little bit? What is the question I wrote down? Are you making enough time to take care of yourself? Maybe somebody who hasn't spoken up yet.
Yes, I am. Because,
How so?
well, I've always lived my life taking care of my kids and my family and working jobs around them and their schedule, and now I'm making that sacrifice. I'm not with them all day, every day. I'm doing this for me to invest in me now.
Sure.
So it's kind of like, now I'm going to be taking care of myself and them.
Yeah.
So it's not just about everybody else.
I think that's great. That's awesome. Anybody else? Do you think you can maybe spend, I don't know, more time is the right phrase, but better time taking care of yourself? Who has room to improve in that area? Probably everybody. Does somebody else want to speak on this, expand on this, please? I want to know what you eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
I had always gone to the gym, worked out my whole life, right? And in different facets, harder, less frequent throughout the business life. But my excuse for that was, I can eat what I want.
Right.
And decided, you know what? How about paying attention to your diet, couple that with the current gym regimen, or even step up the gym regimen, see what happens.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
40 pounds off.
Heck yeah. Damn, Nate. 40 pounds. It does, obviously, when we talk about working on yourself, a lot of times people think physical fitness, diet, those types of things. I tell you, and he wouldn't mind me sharing this, and Kevin tells a lot of people a lot of things, so he probably has shared this with you too. But in 2017, I remember Kevin was coming back from somebody's bachelor. Most of you guys know Kevin Long. He's coming back from somebody's bachelor party down at Daytona Beach, and he called me on the way back. And Kev, maybe he's gotten shorter, but he's never been any taller than he is. He's 5'7", 5'8", and literally he weighed. This is a fact. I'm not making fun. He used to weigh 260 pounds, right? And he didn't feel good about himself. And he called me. He's like, it's basically time for me to get my shit together. I'll meet you in the driveway at 4:30. I'm going with you to Orange Theory. And so I picked him up, and he made a commitment. And he kept that commitment for a very long time, ends up losing 50 pounds, this, that, and the other. Obviously, very proud of Kevin for doing that, right? But what's interesting is that the following year, he had his best year ever in business. I believe that those two things are linked, right? And so when you take care of yourself and you start working on you, you realize that you are actually working on your business, right? Everybody wants to spend more time working on it, not in it. Well, if you want to spend more time working on it, maybe look in the mirror and spend more time working on you, right? This doesn't have to just be health and fitness, although that's always an easy, tangible thing to focus on. It can also be general personal growth and development, reading, journaling, listening to the right things, right? You guys have heard the phrase about he didn't create this, but my dad always used to tell me when I was younger that garbage in always equals garbage out, right? So if you want more positive stuff on this side, start intaking more positive stuff. Okay? Let's go to the next section. Yeah, please. Yeah.
The way we describe the chaos in our like a working mom of 3 kids, it's busy, it's out of control, it's chaotic. So figuring out ways to kind of organize life with the kids and structures and support, like I need help with my kids and my work and my husband and all the things, right? So getting that stuff, getting control of that
Yes.
is taking care of me.
Yes.
So that I can then take care of my business.
Yes, that's an excellent point. Do you guys ever find that when you feel good at home, you tend to feel pretty good at work, right? When I feel organized at home, when my wife and I are on the same page and I feel confident with the kids, like work tends to be pretty easy and pretty fun, right? Like bad days at work are often a result of being out of control at home. Yes? It's a great point, Abby. I love it. All right, the next section, guys, it's a chapter called Saying I Do. It's about picking the right partners in business. Is everybody in here on a team? I think most people, can you raise your hand if you're on a team, please? Okay, very good. Either you're on a team or you're brand new, I'm assuming, okay? So obviously you can read through the bullet points if you would like. One of my favorite ones on here is the very last one that says, if you feel forced into a partnership, it seldom ends well. I know that I have a lot of experience with this, especially into maybe like my networking groups early on in my business. I felt forced to work with somebody in particular that didn't end well, and I should have been much more diligent on the front end of that. So the discussion question I have for this is, think of your teammates and or business partners, okay? Are you proud of who you've chosen to align with and why? And maybe a better question for this that would get a quicker answer is, what types of people do you look to align yourselves with, whether they're on your team or whether they're a business partner?
Positive.
Positive? Honesty? Ethical? Hi. Motivational? Hi, Lacey. Energy? Supportive? Keep going. Sense of humor? Big Dean, yes. Crevasse. Successful. Yes, yeah. Lead by example.
They care about you personally and professionally.
Nice. Very good.
They can be people that complement your skills and also can maybe their strengths are in areas where maybe you're not strong.
100%. That's kind of what we were talking when you were talking, Carrie, about not loving all the selling stuff, right? But you like some of the other things. In this chapter, they talk about partnering with somebody that fills your gaps, right? Somebody that fills your gaps. You know, it's funny when we talk about the people that we align or we like to align ourselves with, or that we fortunately have aligned ourselves with, we come up with all of these cliche words, phrases, right? Positive, honest, hardworking, sense of humor, blah, 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 blah. Again, this is another wonderful opportunity to look yourself in the mirror and say, am I emulating some of these things? Right? So I think a lot of times picking the right partner still starts with number one, right? All right, next section. Sales and marketing, all right? I had actually never heard this saying that they presented in this chapter. They called it eating your own dog food. You should use your own products and be the most knowledgeable customer, because if you don't love it and don't know everything about it, why would anyone else care, right? Now, I'm sure there are people in here who, I'm assuming you don't own your own house, or do you? No. That's probably mean to assume that as you're 18. And Hannah, I'm assuming you don't own your own house, right? That can make it very challenging because you're not an actual customer of it. So would any experienced agents in here like to offer some advice to maybe some folks who aren't owners of what they're selling?
I think that's funny, but I mean, that's the best advice I can give you.
That is a great one. Eat your own dog food, right? Do you get, I mean, I know I can remember, does anybody in here remember, assuming that, or if you were a realtor, when you purchased your first house or sold your first house, did that bring you more confidence? Or maybe if you're a loan officer, after the first time you did a loan, right? Did that make you more confident in what the customer was experiencing? Yes? Right? We have a little coaching practice, and I could never sell coaching or promote coaching if I wasn't a customer of it. Like, that'd be crazy, right? Like, for me to ask people to pay us to coach them without paying for coaching myself, I don't know how you can really do that, right? So very similar in real estate, and I get that maybe there's some challenges before you own a house like that. All of us have done it, right? And you'll find your way through it, of course. But ultimately, you got to be not only a customer of it, but an advocate of it. Like if you think owning real estate's a bad thing, this probably isn't the best business for you, right? Okay. No one is sitting, oh, this is great. No one is sitting at home looking for you. If you build it, they will come. Made a great hook for the Field of Dreams, but it is not a good business strategy. What comes to mind here?
Sitting at home and waiting for your phone to ring.
Yes. Dean talked yesterday about inside and outside sales, right? If we just sit there in the office and just hope that something happens, like hope's never a good strategy, right? What are some examples of what you guys do to make sure that, well, let me start by saying this. It's my belief that if you don't remind people that you're open for business, that people are going to think that you're closed. Yeah? Like a lot of times, like usually the objection you hear from, I would say 0 to 5 years in the business is I don't want to annoy people. I don't want to bother people. They always think I'm trying to sell them something when I call. I would suggest maybe a perspective adjustment on this. They're going to forget that you sell something if you don't call. And it's your responsibility to remind them, right? So what are these layers you guys have in your respective businesses? And this can be the classics again. What are some layers you guys have in your business where you remind people often that you're open for business? Hey, Jaden. I'm sorry?
Do like a birthday call.
Birthday calls?
Same way. And I was like, I don't want to bug these people. They're gonna think I'm some used car salesman. If you see the birthday, just call and say, hey, what'd your wife get you? You know, or start any little form of conversation and just say, oh yeah, that sounds kind of crazy. That reminds me of a story, you know, of a house I was showing the other day and the wife freaked out about this, and then, you know, the next house I got them this closing gift and blah blah blah. You know, just kind of shorten it to where
That doesn't sound short.
you're not really calling about real estate, but you're letting them know, like, hey, your life is kind of like my life.
That's right. You know, I don't know, maybe he said this to other people, but Kevin told me that one time Mike told him that he has made a fortune calling people to invite them to parties that they'll never attend, right? And I share that with you, Jaden, on the birthday thing. I make birthday calls every Monday for birthdays coming up that week. And it literally, it's the foundation of my prospecting calls, are birthdays. And similar to what you said, I'll call the spouse and say, hey, just a reminder, your wife's birthday is on Friday. You might want to get her something, you know, that kind of thing, right? They're easy calls to make. But again, it's a reminder that I'm here. I'm available. I'm ready to go, right? Like if you don't remind, I think there's two very big evils in sales and marketing. The first is if you present that you're busy and out of control, right? If you're the type of person that wears busy as a badge of honor, right, that's a turnoff. That's not something people like. I just think it's the worst. You're talking to somebody and you're like, hey, what's going on? Like, oh, I'm so busy, man. I got so much stuff going on. Like, that doesn't seem like somebody I can trust that's going to have their shit together to help me get my shit together, right? The other one is crickets. If you do not remind them that you're open for business and willing to work, they're going to simply just forget about it. It's not personal. They just forget that you're involved, right? Going back to Gary's forward in the book, there isn't a magic pill to any of this stuff, guys, but there is a magic pill to failure, and that's that you don't remind people that you're open for business, right? Sales and marketing doesn't have to be some fancy, tricky thing. It's simply reminding people often enough that you're open and you're ready, right? All right, let's go to the last page here, guys, and we'll get you guys out of here. And we're going to spend probably 5 or 10 minutes on the last one. This next one's quick. I just thought this was kind of cool because it has to do with real estate, obviously. Because, again, these are like serial entrepreneurs, right? We are often asked about valuation. Specifically, how do you value a company? The answer is simple. The price of anything is the price someone is willing to pay for it. It's no different than real estate. You may think your house is worth $1 million, but if you have one offer for $400,000 after a year on the market, then the value of your house in the current market is $400,000, right? You guys have you've ever seen the Buffini webinar, or maybe I heard it in the seminar, where it says one of the best things you can say when you walk in a listing appointment is you kind of gauge around like, this house is going to sell, right? You're really excited, like this house will sell, no doubt about it, right? Anything will sell for the right price. And what is my house worth? What someone's willing to pay for it. It's your job as the agent, of course, to position that house correctly so that we can find the person that's going to pay for it, right? Have you sold that house in King's Charter yet, Carrie? So it's under contract? Verbal. Sweet. Sounds like it's not under contract yet. All right, last part, guys. What I would love for you guys to do is, I know this is hard for some of you people to actually read, for the people that listen to books. I would like you to read the last part on hyperfocusing, and I'd like you to take a couple of notes, and I'd like to hear from at least, let's say, 5 people on answering one of those 2 questions. This is a story about Nike. I think you guys will enjoy it. It's one that they reference in this book. Go for it, guys. Bless you. I think the answer to the first question here, guys, is quite obvious in real estate. Okay, you see in here that he says hyper-focusing from the start is critical to long-term success. The hyper-focus, which we could also argue is something that should continue throughout your real estate career, is of course generating leads to buyers and sellers. We would agree with that, yeah? Like the best part about real estate, there's no ceiling. The scariest part, there's no floor. And the fact is, if you don't have people that want to buy and sell houses, you will fail. Like that is as plain and simple as it gets, right? So a hyper-focus from the beginning should certainly be there. He also says the gap between the story and reality is often enormous, right? We all tell stories to ourselves, stories to other people. What's the reality, right? So realistically speaking, who would like to share based on their phase of life or business, what should you be hyper-focused on right now? What deserves your most attention right now in your business? And be really specific, more specific than just generate leads.
Fundamentals.
Examples?
All nodes pop up.
What should Justin be hyper-focused on right now? How about that? Justin's a transaction coordinator, for those who don't know.
Yeah, supporting other people's businesses so they can focus on generating, and I have customer service to fulfill.
Very good. Well, and that's, guys, when we're asking for specifics, that's what I'm looking for here. So if Justin just says customer service, well, yeah, of course, customer service is important. But the reason he needs to take care of the transactions is so that the agents can spend time generating, right? Who else? What should you be hyper-focused on right now in this season of life, business?
Okay, database additions.
Database additions. I love that. Very good. Just adding more.
Yeah, easier to do at one point in life, a little bit more challenging.
Sure. Well, and I know some ways that you're just knowing Larry. I mean, highly involved in Blue Star. I know that your son's new schools, like you said Hayden ran the 5K yesterday. You get to meet all those parents, right? That's right. That's right. Database additions is a great one. Who else? What should you be hyper-focused on right now?
Setting a schedule and sticking to it.
Ooh. I can help you with that.
Say no to some other stuff, right?
That's right. Who else? Hyper-focus.
I think doubling down on your top relationships, people you have good relationships with folks you've done business with, and you know they have more to
Yeah,
give out.
very good. I like the idea of doubling down on your strengths, right? And very similar to your top COI, right? They're the strongest ones in there, double down on them. Is there anybody here that knows what they should be hyper-focused on, but they're not? Carrie gave a good example. Hello?
Picking up the phone.
Yeah, Friday phone calls.
Friday phone calls. Phone and Friday, baby. It's good. Talon?
I just have some that I should be focused on. I guess my hyper focus for right now is making connections and contacting my database.
Well, great. Awesome. It's a great hyper focus. Hello.
More face-to-face time with my customers.
More face-to-face time. Good. How can you be more specific with that?
Putting in more effort and scheduling things better.
Okay. Coffees or lunches?
Both.
Which do you prefer?
Coffees.
How many should you do per week?
2 at least.
Fantastic. Do you know what days you like to do them on based on other things you got in your schedule?
Usually Tuesday, Thursday.
Great. 1 coffee Tuesday, 1 coffee Thursday. Awesome. That's a hyper focus, right? Who else?
Database maintenance, I'm behind.
How are you?
Fine.
How do you maintain your database?
These follow-up costs that I have, that daily, weekly, and I'm like, oh, I'm a little behind on this.
CRMs can be tricky. There's a lot of different tools in there.
Yeah,
I don't know if you'll ever learn all of them.
probably not.
I don't know how much of a mess your database is, but maybe something to consider would be have something where you pick the first Monday of each month, and that's database day, right? Whatever it might be. Let's get one more. What's your Jaden? What's up?
I need to go to more events. I need to meet more people.
What events?
No matter what it is, no matter if it's something in my community, something in Hanover, something in Goochland, something hometown, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
Even if it's going to a board of supervisors meeting.
You know, Caitlin spoke a little bit about this. I think, did Caitlin go last week or 2 weeks ago? Last week. She talked about doing things that you like because you're more likely to connect and relate to people, right? So to use this idea of events, and this is kind of going back to what I was saying earlier about the trade-off, right? Like, I kind of got I knew that going to the Tuesday happy hours or the Thursday afternoon networking meetings probably weren't the best use of my time, right? And so and this is not a rule, this worked for me, right? My face-to-faces were the coffees. My social events were the networking groups that started at 8 in the morning, not 4 o'clock in the afternoon, right? So when you're considering going to more events, consider what Jaden likes to do and who Jaden is. And maybe it is some evening, whatever it is for you. You're more likely to connect to people on a deeper level that way, all right? Any questions about shoveling shit? Any questions about this book? Any final comments? All right, thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it. Hope to see y'all next week. Thank you.